I'm Pam Moran. I'm superintendent of Albemarle County Public Schools, and I can tell you there are two things I can always count on as superintendent during this time of the year. And one is that we will be in full swing for budget season as we go a little bit deeper into January. That actually extends out sometimes as late as May before we have a final budget in place for the 2016-17 school year. And the other is that we know that January tends to bring bad weather, and that sometimes plays out in terms of sleet, snow, or ice that can cause us to close schools. What I'd love to do right now, though, is to focus a little bit on foreshadowing what's going to happen next as we're moving into the budget cycle that takes our funding request for 2016-17 in front of the school board. As many people know, that we spend time throughout the fall talking to staff across the county, talking to parents, surveying the community to find out what are the priorities for a budget that will serve our kids well in Albemarle County Public Schools. And so we've collected all that data. We've been working behind the scenes with staff in central office to finalize what the funding request will be. And I will be presenting that on January 19th, which is a Tuesday night, to the school board. That will start at 6:30 p.m. and the public is invited. Now, let me talk a little bit about what I know about this year's budget. As has occurred for the past several years, that we have seen a decline in state revenues compared to where we were several years ago. Now, many of you have heard that the governor has just rolled out a $1 billion commitment to public education in Virginia that includes both PK-12 as well as higher education. And we've been taking a look at those numbers. And one of the things that we want you to know is that while that sounds like a really large number, when you take into account all the factors that go into unpacking a governor's budget, that the reality is that we will not be seeing significantly increased revenues as a result of that. In fact, many of our people got very excited because they thought, oh, we're going to be getting a 2% raise from this new budget that the governor's rolling out. When we unpacked it, what we realized is that that's not actually tagged to occur until the 17-18 school year, not this year. So that is a piece of the puzzle, is what are the state revenues, what are the federal revenues, and then what are the local revenues. And all of that information gets crunched together to help create the revenue side of where we're at in terms of a starting point. On the other side, what we're always looking at are what are the expenses that we bring forward. And obviously, we have increased cost from one year to the next for a variety of reasons in Albemarle County Public Schools. One that's been occurring for several years now is that we've been seeing a growth in our student population. And again, this year, we have more students in our schools this year than we had a year ago at this time. And we were thinking that we will have more students in our schools next year than we have it this year. So we look at enrollment projections, and when we have growth, we have to account for that in the budget. We also know that being able to recruit, retain, and develop our staff is an incredibly important part of the work we do to ensure that all of our children are served well with high-quality staff, from the people who drive our buses to those who work in our cafeterias to people that serve our students directly in the classroom, as well as folks that may serve as special education directors, office staff, principals, and people that work in central office to support our schools, whether it's in transportation or building services or in instruction department or human resources. So we look at what's the compensation package that we need to bring forward and that will support our educators across our community. That comes in conjunction with a joint compensation policy that we share with local governments. So when we take a look at compensation, it's not just about the school division, but it's also about local government, and we do that in tandem with our school board and our board of supervisors to figure out what we are projecting that we will do for compensation for our staff. So growth in compensation, growth in students are two of the variables that significantly impact our schools. The third, quite frankly, is in regards to our benefits. In our benefits, we have two areas that are causing us to see increased cost from year to year. One is that VRS, our Virginia Retirement System, again is projecting an increase in the cost to local school systems as well as to employees to pick up the cost of individuals Virginia Retirement System funding. The other is in the area of health insurance, something that's not just affecting our school division and local government, but it's affecting public and private sector entities across the United States. So whether it's someone that's running a business locally or whether it's a school division in Oregon, we're seeing a real increase in the cost of healthcare in the United States, and that plays out in the cost of our benefits in terms of health insurance. So those are the big drivers that create gaps, and we will have a gap this year between our expenses and our revenues. And then the fourth area that's always important to me and to our community are really what are the things that we need to do to advance our education for our young people forward. And there are a few initiatives in our budget that will continue to unfold an increase in services or a change in services that really meet the needs of our young people who are going to schools in 2016. One of those happens to be our World Languages program for elementary students that's in progress of implementation. Many of you are aware that Cale Elementary has a language immersion program. We're intending to expand that to 2 more schools this year. We also have in our focus on initiatives, we've heard loud and clear from our professionals that there is a real need to restore funding to professional development because that's an area that had significant reductions over the recession years that we've just experienced. So we're trying to bring back some funding for professional development. And then I would say that there are a few other smaller areas that we think will enhance services or extend services or restore services that we think are important to effective functioning and development of the work that we're trying to do in the system. So that's really in a nutshell where we're going. Once the budget process starts with the funding request I bring forward to the board on January 19th, there will be a series of meetings where there will be opportunities for the school board to work on the budget. There will be opportunities for public hearing for our community to let us know what their perspectives are on the items that are in the funding request. And then a little bit later in the cycle, the school board will be presenting their funding request based on the changes that they make, the revisions they make to my funding request, to the Board of Supervisors. The Board of Supervisors then goes through a similar process, and sometime in April to May, we will have a vote by the Board of Supervisors on a final budget of revenues to come to the schools, and then our school board will take a vote to approve a budget for 16-17. So in a nutshell, that's the process. We're going to be putting up links at the end of this video to take you to where you can get more information, but we would say we really want you to be involved, and we hope that you will stay tuned as we move into the budget cycle for 2016-17. So thank you, and I hope that you will continue to support our schools and to understand that we have one of the best school divisions in the United States, and that what we do is to really go after serving our children well. Thank you.